Hello, welcome back to another video. Today's video is not so much a haul because these aren't new books to me, but like it's a haul of the books within this category that I own. So it's kind of recommendations, it's kind of a haul. I'm gonna be showing you all the graphic novels I own. I don't have a vast collection of graphic novels, so if you've got any recommendations that you think I would like based on these ones, please let me know. I think I've got a fairly decent mix. I've got some YA, I've got some adult, I've got some fantasy and some non-fantasy. I'm just gonna go through and show you what I've got. First up is Letters for Liccardo by Ottavia Hekila. This one I read last October. This was within my Spoopathon TBR, I think, and I didn't expect what I got from this book. This is a love story between a vampire and a human, and for a graphic novel, there are some incredibly graphic sex scenes in this book, and my reaction to sex scenes in books is just to find them funny, and I don't really know why that is. It's happened a couple of times now, but it just completely shocked me. I remember I was sat reading this and Lauren from Fiction Tea was round at the time, and I was just suddenly like, what is happening? And there was a couple of different sex scenes in this, and once I knew it was there, I was kind of like, okay, we can get used to this now. But it just surprised me so much, and because it's obviously drawings, we're getting a lot more of a visual representation than we would normally with something like a Sarah J Maas book, for example. And yeah, it was entertaining. So this is a romance between the vampire, that's like a werewolf and a vampire combined, the vampire and the human, and how that works, and the approval of people around, or the lack of approval of people around. I think there's more in this series, is there? Hang on. I don't know, I've got it in my head that there's more. I haven't got any more in this series, but this is the first one on my collection. Going from the spicy fantasies to the cozy bibliophiles, we have Book Love by Debbie Tung. I don't fully know if this is even classed as a graphic novel because it's kind of comic strips, like each page is a different story, but oh my gosh, this is so cute. This is an instant 5-star read for me, and I just knew that as soon as I picked it up. It's so pleasant and wholesome, and it's literally just relatable sketches about book lovers. I just love it. It's so lovely in style of art, but also it just feels incredibly wholesome. And there's so many pages where you're like, oh my god, I do that. So it's a perfect gift for a book lover, and it's just perfect to read if you're just feeling a bit low and you just want to have a little bit of a break from reading anything too intense. This is just light, it's cute, and it's fun. And then from vampire and human romances, we have vampire and werewolf. Vampire and Werewolf Romances with Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This is a really lovely romance story between a vampire and a werewolf. This, similar to Book Love, is the kind of comic strip element, so we see different comic strips on each page that lead towards an overall story. And again, just so lovely and wholesome at the same time as being very funny, having the fantasy elements in there and kind of at times having a little bit of morbidity in there as well, but it all works to create this pretty cute, lovable story. Also, this is a pretty sexy cover of a book. We've got the red, we've got the black. I really enjoyed this one, and I think if you want something that's going to be fantasy with vampires, werewolves, but it's not like spooky or too dark, it's got the humour involved in it, and this one would be perfect. Then we have Bloom by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganuccio. This is a really lovely, wholesome graphic novel. It's an LGBT romance, and it follows two people who both meet working at a bakery. One of them is wanting to leave their job at the bakery, and the other person is hired to be their replacement, and then they end up falling in love. I can't remember too much about this one because I did read it a couple of years back, but I do remember it being really wholesome with the baking element and obviously with the romance entwined in there as well. Also, this is bulky and heavy, just as an observation. But yes, Bloom. Sorry, I can't remember too much more to tell you, but Bloom. Then we have Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Royale and Faith Erin Hicks. This is a graphic novel following two people who work at a pumpkin patch together every autumn. This year is their last year before they go off to college, so they really want to utilise that last year and spend it having a great time on their last night together. And this is the adventures that ensue on their last night and how it doesn't quite go to plan. There is something about this I remember being a bit disappointed by, and I can't remember why, or whether potentially I just wasn't quite in the right mood to read this, I don't know, but I remember it didn't quite wow me as much as I hoped it would. However, the art style fits absolutely spot on with the autumnal vibes, and I definitely would recommend this one within the autumn period. I will probably reread it at some point, but I can't remember why I didn't rate it higher. I think I gave it 3 stars, but I can't remember why. So far this is just me talking about either vampire smut or books that I can't actually remember the plot of. Next up we have Super Mutant Magic Academy by Gillian Tamaki. This again kind of goes down the different story for each page route, however everything does knit together eventually, and this follows all of these different students as they are getting ready for this one specific event at the end of the book. They are all students of the Super Mutant Magic Academy. I love anything with magic in it, especially different abilities where everyone has a different kind of magic. Also, sorry if you can hear a beeping in the background, I think there is some kind of van reversing outside. Anyway, I love this kind of story, and this one was just brilliant, especially because obviously incredibly visual, we get to see the magic in a different way, and I also really enjoyed the way that we see each of the characters popping into each other's stories, and just some of them were just hilarious. Like some of them now I can still laugh at just thinking about them, and they've really stuck in my head, which is I think the sign of a fantastic graphic novel. But the humour just really got me for these ones. They were just very, very funny. Then we have The Sad Ghost Club by Liz Meddings. This one has a sequel that I don't own yet, but I would like to get my hands on that because I really enjoyed this one. This is a graphic novel series that is really centric around mental health, and this specific one follows our main character who is a ghost who goes to a party, and they just don't really fit in. They feel quite anxious and they just feel a bit on the edge until they find somebody else that's also a ghost, and then they form this bond together and they feel seen, and it's lovely, it's very wholesome, it just made me very happy, it's very cute. Yeah, I want to read the sequel. Then we have another fantasy, we have Mooncakes. This is by Wendy Zhu and Susanna Walker. I think this one may be one of my favourite graphic novels. This book follows a witch and a werewolf who were childhood friends, and they've recently come back in contact and are rekindling a romance that might have been there, but there is also some danger on foot because the werewolf has this magic that is being sought after, and people are after the werewolf for not nice reasons, and this is trying to prevent that from happening and trying to save the werewolf from this fate. And I loved it. I loved the illustration style. I will give you an example. There's an example of the art style. Also, you get to see the cafe slash bookshop that we have in this book, which I love. There are so many things I loved in this book. It just felt so wholesome. I really enjoyed the way the magic fitted into everything. I enjoyed the romance and the family unit. It just felt really, really brilliant. We also have representation of a character who wears a hearing aid in this book, and that is not something I have read too much about at all, so that was really great to see in here as well. Generally, there is a lot to love in this book, and I would highly recommend picking it up. Then we have Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This is another pretty funny graphic novel from what I can remember. I read this one a couple of years ago as well, and I just loved it. This follows 3 characters. We have the hero, we have the villain, and we have the sidekick to the villain. The sidekick just desperately wants to be someone's sidekick, is very enthusiastic about it. The villain is your kind of typical grouchy, like, I'm not impressed by this. And then the hero is just this kind of perfect figure that annoys everyone but actually has their flaws as well, and the relationships between them all are really good fun to read about. I just remember this being quite comical, and the lines, especially from the sidekick character, are just really good fun, and it just felt like a piss take kind of on the genre, but also very much its own niche version of it, which was just brilliant. You probably guessed that these ones were coming. This is the Heartstopper series by Alice Osman. I love this series so much. There are 4 out at the moment. There will be a 5th one coming soon. This is the first one in hardback from Fairy Loot. Look at those spread pages. So I have 2 copies of the first one, and then we have the 2nd, 3rd and 4th. I love the spines. They make me happy. This is an LGBT romance series that follows Nick and Charlie and their romance throughout school, how they navigate that, and also all of their friends too, who are just fantastic. I am so excited for the TV show for this because I love the characters so much, and the relationships they have with each other and the support they give. I love that every single one of these books has its own message, and it just feels so genuine and so important, and I can never praise this series enough. So I know you knew it was coming, but I could not include it in my graphic novel haul. Then we have Rachel Smythe's Law Olympus. This is probably the most recent graphic novel I read. This is the Illumicrate edition. It's very pretty. This started as a webtoon and is now being published into hardback editions, which is super exciting. This is a Greek mythology retelling in modern day. We are seeing all the gods interact with each other in a modern day environment, and it's just so much fun. I love it. I really enjoyed this installment. I haven't read it as a webtoon because I want to wait for the physical copies and get really hyped and excited about those releases. I loved this one very much, and one of the things I really enjoy is the way that colour is used in this. So I'm just going to try and find you an example. There we go, there's an example. So all of the characters and all the family lines have different colours associated with them, which I really love, and it's done in a very clever way. Ultimately this is a love story between Persephone and Hades, and this whole first instalment is them meeting and the introduction of their romance, and I cannot wait for the second volume. Then we have Bingo Love by T. Franklin, Jensen Onge and Joy San. This book destroyed me. It was so good. This follows our two characters on the front here who meet in the 1960s. They fall in love and they have to break up because it's just not deemed acceptable by society for them to be together. And they then go on, they live their separate lives, and they then meet each other many, many, many years later, and it's just so lovely. It's so lovely. I don't want to say anything more about the plot, I don't want to spoil anything, but this one just, I absolutely fell for these characters, completely and truly fell for these characters and their story and their love, and oh, so good. Bingo Love, definitely pick this one up. This is, again, I think this is up there with my favourites of this collection. Then we have the Books of Magic series. This is by multiple people. Hang on, who is it by? Neil Gaiman, Kat Howard, Tom Fowler and Jordan Boyd. I have volumes 1 and 2. I do believe there's more out, but I don't know if I will continue on with this or not. This follows a young boy who is completely unaware that there is a magical world around him. He discovers this and then basically has to try and understand where he fits in it all and why there are people who want him dead. So he has to kind of navigate this world. This is set within the Sandman universe from Neil Gaiman, and I think that might be one of the reasons that I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I really liked the concept of it, but I think the second one certainly brought in more elements from the Sandman universe that I wasn't really too familiar with. So that might lead towards the feeling of me not necessarily wanting to continue on with this, but it was quite good fun. I definitely enjoyed the first one a lot more than I enjoyed the second one. Then we have Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. It has been a very long time since I read this one, a very, very long time. I don't know if I can remember anything about this. I bought this when I was initially wanting to see what kind of graphic novels I would enjoy reading, and I can't even remember whether I really enjoyed this one or not. I can't really remember what my thoughts were for this one. So I'm gonna look at the blurb and tell you what it's about because I cannot remember. This is set in an Art Deco and steampunk world. It's a horror. Follows a main character who is the survivor of a war between humans and their enemies, and they are being oppressed and in terrible danger. They are both the hunter and the hunted, and they are searching for answers. So this is that story. I kind of do remember it now I've read that. Kind of do remember it. Anyway, Monstrous. Then we have Saga Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is the only one I've read of the Saga series, and I probably need to reread this if I continued on with the series. This follows two people who were basically not meant to be together, and they have a child, and they're trying to protect that child across the universe, and it's the dangers that come into it. This is a sci-fi, and I can't remember too much of my thoughts and feelings on this one. I went through probably about 3 or 4 years ago where I wanted to try and establish what types of graphic novels I would like to read, so I got a few different types, and this was again one of them. I do remember enjoying this one, but I never bought the rest of them, so I guess I didn't enjoy it enough to continue. I don't know, maybe that's worth a reread. Then we have The Wicked and the Divine by Gillian McKelvey and Wilson Coles. This is another one I bought within that period of wanting to try and find out what graphic novels I would like, except I think I might remember this one a little bit more because this was mythology, kind of. It's on the back, it says every 90 years 12 gods return as young people. They are loved, they are hated, in 2 years they are all dead. It's happening now, it's happening again. I can definitely see why I picked this one up, and I would pick this one up again, I think. I'm pretty sure that there's multiple volumes in this, again, that I have not continued on with. And I don't know why, because I can't remember too much of it. But basically though, these last three I read a very long time ago, but they're still in my haul. Here's this one. I remember liking the art style quite a bit in this one as well. There's an example. I mean, I like the art style in all of them. They're all very stunning and immensely talented people creating the art. And finally, we have Fence. This is by C.S. Passat, Jonathan the Mad, and Joanne Lafuente. I have the first 4 in this series. I don't know if any more have been published yet. I haven't yet read the 4th one. I'm kind of saving it for maybe if I'm feeling slumpy or if there's a readathon I'm taking part in and I want to add in a graphic novel, because this is the only graphic novel I have on my TBR. But this follows people who are at a boarding school and they are all trying to join the fencing team. This basically takes place over a very short time period. The whole series is pretty much within like a couple of days / weeks of each other as they try and get onto this fencing team, and there's the rivalries and potential romances, and yeah, it's a really good fun series. I also find the covers immensely satisfying, the way that we get the changes throughout them all, and it's just, yeah, it's a good series. I don't often read sports-based books, but these ones are apparently an exception to that rule for me. So that is all of my graphic novel books. I'm pretty sure, now worried I've forgotten some that for some reason aren't on that shelf, but I'm pretty sure that's all of them. Thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you would recommend for me with graphic novels, if you've got any that you think I would like. I think I enjoy the fun, playful, humorous fantasies, or the cute and wholesome contemporaries, those two different paths. And also let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you enjoyed. You can also subscribe to see more of my face on your feed, and below I have a link to my Patreon where I post extra content like live shows and things. It's a fun time. I also have a link below to my Twitch, which is something new I've started and I'm very excited about. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.